Hello and welcome once again to the How Long to Beat podcast. As always, I'm Alex, joined by Oh, fucking Christ. I did that last
Was that on purpose or did you actually
do that again?
I actually thought, I was like, oh, he's doing
beautiful.
the joke. When we were, You know what the best part is for the listeners? We botched an episode of this podcast last week because my microphone didn't record and Rick did the same thing.
Fuck my tiny balls. Oh my god. I am Rick. And I'm joined by Alex number 2. I'm Alex number 1 apparently, and Paula. And as always, this week we're going to tell you about fuck's sake.
I'm sorry, that's so good. We're rusty.
I am in a piece. Okay, this week we're going to tell you about the games that we've beaten, retired, and been playing. And to be honest, the way that this has all worked out, it's been about 3 weeks since most of the beatings have happened. So bear with us. We are going to skip a topic this week in favor of a long overdue question from the community. And we're going to finish with everyone's favorite. How long to beat the game.
Noise.
Oh my God. Right. Alex number 2, do you want to tell us about the Artful escape? Please?
Well, before I do that, we have
you do that.
Yeah. We got to let good old Abatage tell us all about the Fantasy Critic League for September. Take it away.
What's up, everybody? I'm Abatage, and this is your How Long to Beat Fantasy Critic League Roundup for September 2021. I don't know about you guys, but September seemed to fly by for me, and a whole lot happened in the league, so let's take our time and get through it. Funky Face Studios continued to maintain their position at the top after the release of Eastward, which added 12 points to their total. Despite a few changes during the month, Ubisoft ended in second place again after the release of The Artful Escape scored 10 points, Origami 2 was hit with -4 points, while Lost Judgment brought in a solid 14 points. And General Goods finished their month in third place thanks to Kiwi releasing at the end of August with a strong 13 points, and Deathloop coming out with a decent 18. After bouncing into second position for a short while, Frozen Frog finished in 4th, after Tales of Arise earned 18 big points, although we're still waiting on a score for Melty Blood type Lumina, which dropped right at the end of September, but has yet to be scored. Meanwhile, reigning champion Poke & Paw slid into 5th place thanks to Lost in Random earning 8 points, Kena Bridge of Spirits scoring 11 points, and Diablo 2 Resurrected bringing it home with another 11 points. Noise Labs dropped into 6th place after Sonic Colors Ultimate only managed to add 4 points to their total. However, even with all the shuffling above, Mango managed to stay in 7th thanks to the release of WarioWare Get It Together, earning them a useful 7 points. With no releases in September, Ashmasters fell a few spots. However, Beatmasters welcomed the release of Severed Steel, which gained 14 points and provided a little upward momentum as a result. And once again, Horny Mistress lost a few places on the board, thanks to no releases during September. It turns out that even the release of the much anticipated Sable couldn't save CD Projekt Rick from all the movement above, as it brought in 5 points, dropping them down another rank. Although it has to be said that Cockroach Content Corp must be feeling the hurt, as Deltarune Chapter 2 earned a solid 15 points, but it still left them on the second to last once again. As CD Product Refund managed to stay on the bottom, even after Life is Strange True Colors scored a promising 11 points, but thankfully they're out of the minus realm, so let's hope it stays that way. And as if that wasn't enough, September also saw a fair few pickups from some key players, so let's see what happened during the month. Frozen Frog made a large bid and acquired Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for $48, exhausting their budget and leaving them with nothing. Ashmasters dropped Horizon Forbidden West, then picked up Grand Theft Auto Remastered for $25, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania for $15, and Windjammers 2 for $5, leaving them with $55 left in their budget. And finally, Beatmasters successfully acquired Riders Republic for $10, Jet The Far Shore for $12, Severed Steel for $10, and the Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes for $10. Leaving them with $58 left in their budget and a whole lot of titles set to release in the final months of the year. They may only have 2 releases so far, but I wager this is still one publisher to keep an eye on as the final months roll in. And that's how the How Long to Beat Fantasy Critic League shaped up for September 2021. As we head into the final quarter of the year, it's clear that there's a lot of room for everyone to move, even if it feels like a race to second place right now. We can all hope for a couple of flops for Funky Face Studio as they continue to dominate the board and show little sign of letting up. And as we draw closer to the end of the year, keep an eye on the forum and on the Discord channel to find out more about what's going to happen with the 2022 League and when sign-ups occur in December. But more on that later. For now, let's get back to the podcast.
I knew that was coming. I was just testing you guys.
Oh,
you passed.
Yes, that's
Congratulations.
Good test.
Of course.
Well, anyway, it was another great September. I broke the 100 barrier, which is pretty nice.
I'm slowly crawling my way to the top.
Slowly.
I'm saving myself for 2022.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, Everdread had potential could get me, but he got hit by a -1 just recently, so I'm feeling a little okay there. But we'll see what happens. It's not over until the fat lady sings, right? Which is an expression.
I was trying to think of a joke, but I couldn't.
There's no real joke for it.
I mean, there's ones to make. There's not nice and appropriate ones.
Exactly.
So I'm going to hold off on it.
Yeah, for those, of course, this is an expression, by the way. I'm not just making a random saying.
Yeah. I am very svelte and also not a lady.
There you go. Okay, why don't I share, though, what I have beaten, which is the good old Artful Escape. Which, speaking of singing, oh, dang it, there was the segue. Speaking of singing, The Artful Escape is it's on Game Pass. It's another Annapurna Interactive published game. Oh, man, what was the name of the company? Beethoven Dinosaur is the name of the developer. It's just awesome. And it's by this by a dude who's in this Australian band, the Galvatrons. That was it. He's a founding member and lead guitarist, which it shouldn't surprise you that he's a guitarist.
Totally trapped.
Yeah, because this game is like, I think the way that he describes it is, this game is basically a game about, like, say how David Bowie became Ziggy Stardust. Like, that's essentially the concept, is that you start as this kind of folk artist, but like you're like the nephew of a really famous Bob Dylan type, basically. I mean, it basically is Bob Dylan. Like, he's got the black shades with, like, you know, the suit, like, yeah, that kind of folk star. And so this whole town, and you live in Colorado in this small town. It's gorgeous, by the way. The 2D art work is just incredible. And you're kind of expected to follow in his footsteps because he's passed away. And so, but your character, for instance, just doesn't feel any connection to the folk music, you know? Like, it's not really what they're interested in. They're more interested in these crazy rock opera space ballads kind of thing. And so there's an implication that this is set in the 60s. There's no hard, fast thing to delineate where you are in time in this game. There are no smartphones or anything, so you can pretty safely assume this is like 60s, 70s. Maybe more likely early 70s, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you go on this 2D platforming adventure where you're sort of discovering yourself. And the way that it works is like you run along and you can hold like the X button to like play these solos as you're going. And there are a few occasional moments where you're going to have to do these like guitar battles with like bosses and whatnot, where it's mostly a Simon Says, where you're just like pressing buttons in a repeating pattern to play these solos. They were really fun. There was actually like, they were kind of far and few between, but they were fun. It's super psychedelic. I mean, picture the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie. Like, that's the aesthetic that you're going for in this. Lots of yellows and pinks and purples and, you know, all that good shit. Not pastel, but very, very bright colors, you know. Very Play-Doh, I would say, actually. That's kind of how I describe it for color-wise. Yeah, it's not that much of a game. Like, I mean, I talked about before, like, you know, like, it's like 4.5 hours long. You'd be stretching it if you made it longer than that. But like, it's not hard by any stretch of the imagination. And so it's doing this fine balancing act, right? Because what makes the game really fun is this fluidity to it, where like you're running through these scenes, you're playing your guitar, it's beautiful music, you're like soaring through these vistas. And so if it were too difficult, you would interrupt the flow very often, right? Which in turn would probably make the game kind of annoying. So it has to find this balance between being kind of on autopilot and yet also requiring you to, kind of put inputs into it. So in that way, it's sort of interesting. Now, there are a lot of areas that you can explore outside of these sort of traditional kind of like from one point to the end levels. And there are some meaningful choices that you get to make that actually felt important to me. Like it was like I mentioned this before, there's kind of like this character creator-ish moment that happens later in the game that I spent a lot of time on. And I believe many people will as well, because the game, I don't know, it's really interesting because a lot of games, right, you have to create your character from the outset and you know nothing about them, right? And like you just sort of tasked with doing it. And it's like the most important part of a game, And it's like right at the beginning and you're like, I have no context. And this game actually does something I think really ingenious where that comes later. And I won't explain kind of like it, and it's very unique. And I think it actually is very successful in that regard. And something that I'm like, man, why aren't there more games like this where, you have sort of like a set-ish path and then you get to branch out kind of deal. But anyway, beautiful, excellent music. I listen to the soundtrack sometimes because it's just so good. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. It's on Game Pass, so like it's a no-brainer. Like if you have Game Pass, just pop that shit on and have a good time. Man, if you were like a little high, this game would be unreal. Like honestly.
If you're a little high, would you be served just watching it? Because my temptation is, I know I've got this Game Pass month coming up, and it's like I might play it, but also
I do think you lose something by not playing this game. Like as much as it is like, because there is a personal element to it that I do recommend. Yeah. And it's so short that if you were to watch it instead, I mean, be like the same thing. You know what I mean?
I've watched shorter games.
Yeah.
Last Day of June pops straight to mind.
But what I'll say is like, I don't know if sometimes like it's not hard enough to make it frustrating, So like there'd be no, I don't know. And also you wouldn't want to speed this up or anything. Because I know sometimes people will watch games and they'll like speed it up a little bit. Because it's like, I don't need
the music sort of makes that tricky. I get that.
Yeah, right. And like, so that sort of thing. So I would recommend playing this one.
I'll think about it. I might also think about, depending on what you say, playing Superliminal.
This game's super cool. So
hey,
it is. I love it. I mean, it's like it's heavily Portal influenced, like very heavily influenced by Portal in the sense of its structure, where you're kind of in this like, well, I don't actually, is it? Nah, I won't say. I'm not going to say what the conceit is, because I think it is kind of neat to explore the conceit, but basically just know that, like, you know how Portal sort of set up, like, you're somewhere and you're in some kind of testing of some sort? It has a similar setup like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's kind of like, seeing around, seeing how things go. But the conceit with this game, and I've heard some complaints about how, like, the puzzles are sort of samey near the end, but I'm also like, what the fuck do you want? This game does, like, the coolest new puzzles I've ever seen. And they're, like, too much of, like, this mind-bending, cool new idea. I was like, it's only 2 hours long! I'm like, it's not that much. Anyway, what it does is it plays with perspective. So, for those who know, like, the idea liminal means, like, space is in between. So I don't know, superliminal, it's a super space in between. But basically what you can do in this game is, like, imagine if you hold up, I mean, it's the very basic thing. Like if you're using a camera and you put, like, I don't know, soda can up close to the camera, it looks giant. But then when you bring it further back, it looks tiny. And the idea is that when you do that in the game, if you put the chess piece and you hold it up in front of you in the room and it looks like it's the size of the entire room, if you let go, it is now the size of the entire room, right? Which is really cool and hard to imagine until you start playing with it. And it allows for some really cool puzzles. Some basic ones, like, making space and room to go in, but like a lot of just like really bending your mind on perspective. So yeah, I recommend it. Now there is one puzzle. There's one puzzle that I just don't think they just don't give enough context for it, and they don't really ever show you being able to do something like this. At least not in a way that seems to like naturally connect within the brain. Like I found that as I played it, most of the puzzles, sometimes it would take me a little bit to figure it out, but there was like a natural connection that would occur, and this one it just never did. And it's a puzzle involving an apple, and I'll just say, like, you'll know when you get there. There's also a fan, so when you hit this part,
when the pip hits the fan, thank you for giving me that tee up again.
Looks like I need that one.
I definitely didn't make that joke last time we recorded this and be way too fucking proud of it.
Not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. See, your jokes are polished right now. It's good. Although I think they were just as good last time. But anyway.
It's a breeze to me.
It's a breeze. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Okay. I was going to make a core joke, but I'm done. All right. So as we go along, if you get to that point, just look it up. Just trust me. Just look it up, because you're not going to need to look anything else up probably. So just look that one up. You'll be fine. Yeah. Again, on Game Pass, very short, just like a fun experience to kind of blast through, maybe in 2 settings so your brain doesn't explode from the weird perspective thinking. Story's nonsense. But, like, what kind of fucking story do I even want from a game like this, right? Well, I don't care. Anyway, that's Superliminal and the Artful Escape. Good Game Pass games, man. I've been playing lots of Game Pass shit these days. They're just, oh my God, there's so much shit pouring on there. Although, a little hint for what I'm going to be talking about next week in terms of Game Pass games. Let's just say we'll be talking about one that's good, but also terrible.
Ooh.
Can anyone guess? I'll leave that for the audience to guess.
Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're there, the like button's right next to it. So, feel free to smash that.
Just crawl all over that like button. I want to find really
just hop on it.
Yeah, hop on it. Only once.
All right, let's stop that now, please.
Speaking on hopping around,
please.
In Tomato Adventure, your little guys hop on other enemies. There you go. I made it work. I beat Tomato Adventure. Fun. I have not much else to say about this game. This game is fun. It's a 2D game by the Mario and Luigi dudes. It's Mario and Luigi before they put Mario and Luigi in the game. It's very creative. It subverts your expectations quite a few times, actually, in fun ways that you're like, oh, that was kind of neat, like it's just kind of like a wholesome, fun experience, like it's like one of those like really great 8 out of 10 games where you're like, this isn't revolutionary, but this is very fun, and you like whatever you're expecting from it. It's going to give you that basically. Like if you go in and you're like, I want a 2D game where it's a turn-based game where I press buttons once in a while. It's what it is. And it's consistent. It's upsetting that it never got localized, to be frank. I mean, it's really good. Yeah. But I also understand that the GBA era was like, it was a minefield. There's a lot of shit going on in that. And there was a lot of, there's a lot of re-releases, but so actually maybe it would have done well. I don't know. Who fucking knows?
Those games are so cheap to make as well. I refuse to accept that the localization effort was that much of a... Obviously, it was a financial gamble, but I refuse to accept that it was that much of a financial
It's probably because that company was so new and probably just didn't have the resources, to be honest. Because they'd only made one game before, which was also Japan only. It was like a card battle... No, it was a monster? Yeah, it was like a Pokemon-esque game.
You tell me.
Yeah, it's this Pokemon style game that actually was apparently quite good. Which, yeah, anyway, it's unfortunate. So many great games that just kind of get lost to that. Anyway, Tomato Adventure. It's got a translation now. Go sail the 7 seas and get yourself a copy. Who's going up next?
Should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I don't have any retirements.
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly. You go ahead.
Okay, so I completed a whole bunch of games. So to be fair, like 6 of them are really like one game, but split into 6 smaller parts.
Paula's playing that HLTB meta game.
I playing Dammit. because he's the one who recommended this series to me. So it's the Lonely Wolf Treat series by Nom Nom Nami, the creator of Syrup and the Ultimate Sweet.
Who was that again? Say one more time.
Oh?
Who was that again? One more time.
Nom Nom Nami.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I
just wanted to hear you say it again. I heard it the first time.
Oh no, yeah, I could hear that name for like days. That is an excellent name.
It is an excellent name. So, this is like a story centered around this group of characters that are Treat the Wolf, Mochi the Bunny, and Moxie the Fox. They are all in a way like misfits, and it is pretty much a tale of them like meeting each other and slowly like forming this budding relationship. The games are fairly short, like half an hour each, and you get to know these characters pretty well since each takes the protagonist role at least in one game. There are some like bittersweet moments, but overall it is like a very sweet and very wholesome story. Again, Nom Nom Nami, the games are free. You can you can like give her like a tip or something because of her work is their work is truly wonderful.
So
besides that,
did you say Tiamat gave you that suggestion?
Yeah.
Tiamat...
Was I Tiamat the one who was playing like a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Tiamat has turned into the resident itch.io expert. He's played lots of good ones on there.
Yep. And this one was also like very interesting because it is like a visual novel but with RPG elements. And again, it was a very wholesome adventure. I think there's gonna be like a 7th game released sometime this year or next year. So yeah, go check them out. The other game I finished was Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valencia. Took me 36 hours, which was less than the last time I played it, but still. I still think it is a fantastic game, and every Fire Emblem fan should just go and play it or at least try it. Though I would recommend going with casual mode since there's a particular dungeon in the game where you can't really save. And you can still lose a unit or critical hit after failing to land an attack because it was too fatigued. So yeah, like keep your units fed in the dungeons. Otherwise, you're not gonna have a good time. I do recommend doing all the side missions that allow you to recruit more characters because there are 2 magic users, Luthier and Delthea, that are magic powerhouses that were like really needed for Alm's army. Because I said like his army was more traditional and more physically oriented. And the 3 Pegasus Knights you are able to recruit on Celica's path are a lifesaver, and they also save like a lot of time on some of the later maps of the game. Also not every cleric inside because each cleric is, or each priestess, no, cleric. Each cleric is has a unique ability that you can exploit to your advantage in the field. So you can take out like the enemy units like in very creative ways, or you can use your cleric to just rescue whatever unit you left in a bad spot. As I already said, fantastic game, well balanced, and as always, the music is awesome. Like the final battle theme was awesome. Like, yeah, it has one of the best soundtracks, at least from the Fire Emblem games I've played. So go check it out. And finally, this is kind of cheating because it isn't really a completion. It's more like a closed beta I was able to partake in. But it is Age of Empires 4. This is another RTS in this long-running series. And it seems like a return to form to Age of Empires 2, since there's a big focus on managing your economics as opposed to 3, where you pretty much focus on militia and the economy of the game is just there. So we don't really talk about 3 here. There's a bigger emphasis of map control, since there's like a neutral market smack right in the middle of every map that anyone could use to their advantage. And there's a number of sacred sites that if a player takes control of them for long enough, it guarantees victory. There were 4 civilizations on the closed beta, and those were English, Abbasid, Chinese, and Holy Roman Empire. And each civilization feels more distinct than ever before, like compared to other games. And now you get to advance like through the ages by building landmarks that are buildings that have special effects or like give you like special units or bonuses. And usually you get to choose between 2 of them, like for each age. Except for the Abbasid that has like one big landmark that you like continue like building upon or expanding. The Chinese get dynasties, so they kind of like need to build both landmarks to advance through the dynasties, and that is a different kind of worms I don't want to get into, because like that civilization particularly is very, very complicated to play. But it is very fun. Overall, great game. I have faith that it will be like a fantastic game once it like gets properly released. And also it's gonna be on Game Pass on day 1. So if you have Game Pass, go try it out. It might be your cup of tea here. So yeah, that's everything I've beaten this week or this month. I don't know at this point. Take it away, Rick.
Period since the last episode, yeah. So I've got 2 completions since we last recorded, and the running theme with both of them really is excellent, but not as good as the predecessor. So the first of those 2 is Iki Island, the expansion for the phenomenal Ghost of Tsushima. And it's a really good expansion. So it puts you on a new island, loads of new things to explore, a new story, which actually hits really hard. It does a great job of not feeling bolted on, although it is an entirely separate campaign. But it feels very organic in the sense that it relates to character beats that were already built up in the original. And so there's this easy flow into the main game and into the character of Jin and his development. I don't want to say too much on that, although the story is quite predictable. I think there's something to be said for experiencing it properly in itself. There's a lot in the way that it's told. Bit of a mixed bag in terms of the new inclusions. I loved the archery challenges. I thought they were excellent. I hated all the shrines that make you do this like SingStar-esque flute section by tilting the remote up and down. I thought they added nothing and just served as a pointless distraction. I also really love the additions to combat. So your horse, in my case, my horse is called Kaze, gets a charge attack that is really cool for like clearing out low-level grunts and not having to like get dragged into pointless firefights. Firefights? It's fucking samurai, so do you know what I mean? You also
conflicts, battles.
Yeah, Killy Stabby moments. You also well, that's a contender for this week's title.
That is the title, Killy Stabby moments.
You also get a new enemy type called the Shaman. They are like your classic hide in the back and buff the enemies situation. The buff is really powerful in the sense that the main combat loop of Tsushima relies on sort of finding a window into an enemy, parrying them, and then attacking them. What the Shaman's buff does is it makes the enemy quite relentless. So where normally you'd have a bit of breathing room for the other enemies around you while you're sort of parrying and attacking, they will ignore that. They will just sort of go whole hog for you, and it becomes a real annoyance. So I found myself in a very different way to the first game. If I wasn't stealthing something, I would be looking for the Shaman immediately because they need to be gotten rid of. I can English. It's really good expansion. It's not the 10 out of 10 that the base game was. It's a really solid 9 and a bit. And if you're someone who loved the original, this is absolutely worth your time. It's another sort of maybe 4 to 5 hours if you just like blitz the main content. more like 10 to 12 if you do everything that the island has to offer, which in my opinion is well worth doing. If you are the lucky owner of a PS5, get the director's cut. Yeah, this is a great excuse to sort of take full advantage of PS5. It's with the director's cut and with Icky Island, they've done stuff in terms of bumping up the visuals. There is, what do they call it? Adaptive trigger support. And you can tell there's like a mechanic where you use your grapple hook to pull things away. And you can tell it's been sort of designed to make full use of the adaptive trigger. But it's not too distracting. It's fine. I feel like if you've got a PS5, this is absolutely a game to experience for that. Because let's be honest, what other exclusives are there? You're probably playing Deathloop. You probably already played Ratchet and Clank. Go check this out. The other one is Telling Lies. So this is a game by Sam Barlow, who was the man behind behind Her Story. He was also behind Telling Lies.
You're not wrong.
Weird. No, wait, he's got a point. The game, it's very much an expansion in scope of Her Story. And while I really enjoyed it, I think it suffers a little bit from that expansion. Her Story was a very focused experience. There is a singular character. There is a singular setting in which you're seeing that character. And all of the hints that you're reading refer to sort of a single web of relationships and a singular set of events. Telling Lies, by contrast, follows a man and 3 women. Those 3 women are all related to each other by the man. And it, funnily enough, explores the lies that the characters tell each other and the way that those play out. I played this one with my brother, and I really, really enjoyed doing it that way. I inadvertently played Her Story that way. I started it at the time I lived with a few other people, and one of my housemates sort of popped his head around the door to see how it was going, and ended up staying for the whole thing because it's just gripping like that. And had a similar experience playing this with my brother. We played over sort of 3 or 4 sessions. It definitely retains a lot of the charm that Her Story had, in the sense that you're piecing together the plot. You're encouraged to sort of make notes of things you've checked, things you need to check. So for anyone who's not played Her Story before, the way that it works is you have an NSA style sort of piece of spyware. You're in one of the individual's computers and you can search for keywords that are said in the video clips. You will only see the first 5 of any sort of search terms results. So you're encouraged from the initial set that it gives you to look for keywords, names, events, places, and expand out from that and sort of put the narrative together yourself. You're never given any kind of flowchart or singular narrative thread. It's up to you to look at the timestamps and piece together what happened, where, and how, and to who, and in what way. And that there's a real sense of sort of becoming a detective to that, and it's really, really powerful. It's a really engaging way of doing what is essentially an FMV game. I found those threads much more laborious to piece together and much less rewarding to piece together than I did in Her Story, because you're essentially working with 3 different sets of relationships instead of the one, because the 3 individual women related to the male character aren't connected to each other in any meaningful way. So what you're essentially dealing with is Dave's relationship to A, B, and C, and it's 3 different sets of webs, and you've got to sort of piece together what falls in between each. And on paper, that's great because it gives you more to play with and work around. In practice, it makes everything a bit stodgy. Takes a little bit too much time, more than I'd like, to sort of get to anywhere meaningful with each of those 3 threads. It's still excellent, and like Tsushima and Icky Island, you know, it's still an 8 or a 9 out of 10. It's still a really good game. But if you haven't played Her Story, I'd say go and play that first. And
Her
if
Story
you
was
really,
a big
really
deal too. Like, I mean, when that game came out, it was kind of like, I don't know. I viewed it as a bit of like a paradigm shifting game. Like, I remember everyone sort of talking about that, and because FMV games had vanished, frankly. Right? Like, they just didn't exist. I mean, I'm sure there was like someone making a few of them, but when that came out, I think it kind of revitalized the idea that like, oh yeah, you can actually make games with video.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure that it was responsible for that. I mean, there's been a few FMV games since. I think more significantly, or more significant, was the effect that it had in terms of pushing the envelope for narrative games, because it's not too much of an exaggeration to call this like the 12 Angry Men of video games, in the sense that it's a singular character in a singular setting, telling a story. There is very little besides that, and it's not like that a single room game has never been done at any scale. I'm sure it has, but this one had some cut through. It really stripped everything away around that, because again, the gameplay mechanic is purely searching for keywords in a terminal and then picking which video to play. That's the entirety of the gameplay. Now, 90% of players, myself included, will then find a notepad or somewhere to write down what they've searched and when and how many results it ticked back and stuff like that. But in terms of what's actually coded in, that's all there is. And I think that was significant in that it resonated with so many people, despite, and this is ironic coming from me, who's always like, it's about the gameplay, stupid, like having so little gameplay. But then this goes back to my point, like, if there's enough story to justify how little gameplay there is, I'm on board for that. I was fully fucking on board for her story, and I'm almost fully on board for Telling Lies. And I'm very excited for Sam Barlow's upcoming game, whose name I am going to have to Google because I don't want to not mention it, because it's coming very soon. And it should be a doozy. It's shaping up to be a doozy. I've liked the look of the pre-release. Immortality. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. 2 excellent games that I would only recommend to people that have played the things that came before them, because the things that came before them are absolutely required reading and or slightly better.
It is interesting though. Like I'm just looking at, there's an interesting website that like tracks FMV games. But I don't know what their criteria is, because some of these I'm like, I guess they maybe have it in there, but I don't know. But since 2015, there's been like a marked increase in FMV games. Like when you look at 2014, before there were some, but they were kind of like web-based games, and like 2014 only had 4, and then or like 5, and then suddenly there's like 8. Like it's like every year after there's just like a massive increase. Like I don't know. I think maybe what we saw Her Story did was like beforehand, like you saw some of these, but they were usually like Mac and Windows and like those kind of, Mystery Case Files, Shadow Lake, like, those games that have those weird fucking names.
Yeah. And the full motion video is very loosely used, like Mist-esque thing where it's like 40 by 40p.
Yeah, right. Like one Dark Alley's Penumbra Motel, like that kind of shit. And then like, like these fucking names. Then you've got Her Story in 2015. You got The Bunker coming in 2016, and then Late Shift as well. That was another big one. Quantum Break technically, but it's not really. I don't know. They're counting it, but it had video clips in there. Erica, yeah.
Still need to play that one.
Yeah, there's just tons, right? Like, and you see more and more of these games. I mean, then Night Trap came back in 2017. Remember, like it was like suddenly they're like, oh yeah, here's the anniversary edition of it, and it's like, I don't know. We could do a whole friggin' episode on FMV because it is such a weird world.
They're like, oh shit, we can release this shitty old game for £40 on a Switch cartridge and people will fucking buy it.
Yeah,
I think there was a Vita release as well, out of fucking nowhere.
I think. Let me see. Night Trap. Yeah, it was on Vita. Yeah, PS4, Vita, Switch, and Windows. I know.
Who wants to play Night Trap on anything, let alone the Vita?
Yeah, you want to get that good OLED.
Oh my god, you can do that on Switch now. So
yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah, you get it on the Switch. Okay. Anyway. Let's
Speaking of switching, let's switch to our retireds.
Ooh, nice. I like that one.
Ooh, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, why don't I talk? So I've got one here.
It's helpful for a podcast.
Yep. Or so they say.
So wait, what? I missed something for a second. I was like taking notes.
You went, oh, why don't I talk? And I said, yeah, that'd be helpful for a podcast.
Oh, I see. I said, well, okay. Well, I'm retiring Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, and it's not for any like huge big reasons. I mean, okay, here's the deal. I've played these games before a couple years ago. And I wanted to get back in on it because it was game of the month. And the reality is, like, I got through to about 6th or 7th dungeon, I think, and I was just kind of done. Like, I had my fill. And I had a lot of other handheld games going. I had Tomato Adventure going on, playing Ace Attorney and stuff. And there was a few others that I wanted to touch on, actually playing a new game that I'll talk about next week. But, like, I just kind of couldn't justify it. Like, it was kind of fun. I was playing it while watching TV, but, like, I've been getting a little busier, too, now. And, like, I don't have as much time for that as things are ramping up a little. So I was just like, I think I'm kind of done. I'm also a little sad because, like, I think so many people have had rough experience with the games now for Game of the Month, and I understand why. I also think this is a game that like sounds to me like emulation's a bit tougher with this one. But in general, this is the problem too with emulation, man. Save states, you lose them a lot, you know? Like it's the Achilles heel of emulation, which can be really great and experience a lot of things, but for long narrative games, you're playing a game of goddamn Russian roulette very often. Especially if you're using flashcards and stuff. So it's like, you gotta be careful. I remember having experience with that. That's why I swear by, at this point, I'm just like, EverDrives, they're expensive, but never had a goddamn problem. If you get the
you pay for.
Yeah, the easy flashcards,
Yep.
fucking trash. I'm done with those. They're
good
just
on GBA.
No,
they're good on GBA.
I've been having GBA problems now. They have a fucking finite life to those things, man. I've had them dropping saves, and I've had them like needing to like weirdly reformatting and stuff. I know they're better on GBA, but they're still trash compared to the EverDrive. And I get it because they're cheaper, right? And it feels like, oh, I want that one, but I'm like, there's a reason you shell it out, you know? If you want consistent fun times, it's like shell it a little bit more for an EverDrive. But listen, or you could just be non-neurotic and just play it on your fucking PC and it's fine. But I want it on my Game Boy. Anyway.
Yeah, but the topic of flashcards, like the R4 I had and I was playing them, kind of tight. So yeah,
they're not perfect.
The flashcards, not good. Yeah. Or they don't last forever. Like they really die fast.
Yeah, EverDrives are proven for a reason, you know. Crix does some good shit with those. Anyway, besides that, retired Oracle Seasons. Again, it's an old game. I still think it's fucking beautiful. Like it just is gorgeous looking. Especially for a Game Boy game. It's absurd how beautiful it looks. It plays greatly. Yeah, you have to switch your items a lot, but they build that into it, right? You press that menu button, immediately it's up. You hit the one you want, you press it, you're back in, right? Like they streamlined it so that there's no fuss to it. I still think this would make an incredible remake in the Link's Awakening style. If you packed these two together. Holy
You're funny.
hell.
Nintendo absolutely sell those as two separate cards.
Oh, I know.
Funny.
If Capcom had control, maybe they would put it as a bundle. Because again, it was still a Capcom game, but yeah. Because Capcom's a bit better on that, I think. Not always, but a little bit. All this is to say, for those who had a hard time with them, I'm sorry. These are still my favorites. But I also want to give a warning, though, because I've heard a few people, they're talking about some of the obscure nature of the quests, and they're talking about going to try Link's Awakening and saying that it's probably better in that. It's not. I'm going to warn you right now. Not at all. Link's Awakening is more obtuse sometimes than the Oracle games. I would argue, actually, it's a lot more obtuse than the Oracle games.
I didn't find Link's Awakening to be obtuse at all.
Which one did you play? The new one? Or are you talking the older one?
I played both. I mean, I did play like part of the GBA one. No, the Game Boy Color one before the remake was announced,
but
and
see,
then I stopped, and then I jumped into the.
Oh, sorry.
I jumped into the remake, and yep.
Yeah. Okay. The remake is different. Like they polished a lot of Link's Awakening. There's a lot more hints as to what you need to do next in the remake. And in general, although there is still one thing that's very obtuse in terms of the trading sequence, that's still quite there. But I would actually argue that the remake, and even that, I still think the remake is fairly obtuse at times. Particularly if you're not like, because sometimes an important piece of information will get thrown at you in a dialogue, and then it's like, hope you read that, motherfucker, because you'll never hear it again. I hit the B button too fast. But it depends on your level of on your ability with that. Like I know, like Paula, you've played a lot of games like Link's Awakening before, I'd say, and like I would say you're very well versed in the Zelda lexicon, right? Like I think that's an accurate statement, right?
Paula's too busy blushing to respond.
Yeah. It's like, I might be a pro.
I'm not blushing.
I'm not blushing, you're blushing.
Yeah. But no, like Paula, you're very good at these games. And like I think if you're not versed at all in that, like if you have a hard time with the Oracle games, you will probably still have a bit of a hard time with the Link's Awakening games. Not to say don't do it, just be aware that like you may want to grab a guide once in a while, and that honestly, a lot of the early Zelda games are really, really fun with a guide. Like, I know it sounds weird, but like I think Paula and I talked about this. I played the original Zelda using Phil Summers' hand-drawn guide. It's really fun with that guide.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep, you
No
need a
shame in
guide
guide.
for the very first one. And maybe the second one, but not as badly.
No, not as like I think you can definitely play through. Like even when I was playing Seasons again, there was a couple moments where I went, "Oh wait, what am I supposed to do next?" And I was like, I could figure it out, but it's funny because what they want you to do is explore, right? But when you get to my old age, and I'm fucking lazy, and I don't have time to explore for 3 hours to figure out what to do next, I'm just like, tell me what to do. But if you have more time, you can organically explore, and you'll find the solutions pretty fine. And it's actually probably more fun to do that. But sorry, Paula.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe like if you're able like to get a hold of the game manual, because there's like a couple of sites that are dedicated to preserving game manuals. And at the very least, I can say that the first and second Zelda games were way more fun using like having that manual, because not only it gives you like the overall story of the game, but it also gives you a lot of hints on what to do. So maybe for the Oracle games, looking up the game manual may actually like enhance the enjoyment of the playthrough very much.
Yeah, like I'd recommend even looking up the Oracle Seasons one, because wow, it is a very, very in-depth manual that explains a lot. Like especially because I've heard people talking about how like they didn't realize you couldn't lift up all the pots, and like it's right in there on the thing. Like it's like BT dubs, you need a thing to lift and throw stuff. So like yeah, it's one of those things where you're right. Like these old games, and it's hard. If you play a Game Boy game, my advice is find the manual, because Game Boy games are NES games, right? Like that's the reality. They're basically on that same area where like tutorials didn't really exist. Is that an excuse for the game? No, but you know, the reality. Anyway, that was a longer rant on Oracles than I thought I'd give, but I do love these games, so give them a shot, but maybe have a guide so you don't hate your experience. Have either of you? Oh yeah, you are playing this one, aren't you, Rick?
I am. By playing, I mean I'm still at the intro, but that's the ROM that's on my PSP right now. So yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, I don't have the emulation troubles that everyone else is having.
Yeah,
I just need to finish a couple of games before I can jump into the game like with peace of mind, because not looking good.
Oh, that's fair. You're busy as hell. Okay. Rick.
My retirements are way quicker, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So two again for me. The first is Kine, aka the latest installment of Rick Doesn't Finish Puzzle Games. Yeah. It's a great game. I just got to the bit where like all three of the characters came together, and it's like, all right, these puzzles were fun with one person. With three people, my brain is starting to melt, and I'm not having fun anymore. So I'm a head out, which is what I did, and it's still great. And if that's your lane, absolutely go and check it out, because it's an excellent game with a lovely soundtrack and a really beautiful sense of style. I wasn't going to finish it. It's one of those. Vagrant Story was a little bit more of a disappointment. This is just one where it's sort of an age thing. And I sort of did a double take when I was Googling around it. This Famitsu gave this a 40 out of 40. And I think that probably speaks a lot to when it came out rather than what it does. Because this is a game that dropped in 2000. It was almost like the Skyward Sword of the PS1 in that it represented the pinnacle of what that hardware could do at that time. Graphically, mechanically, holistically. The facial animations in that game are really, really impressive for the PlayStation. The art's lovely. The soundtrack's real nice. The story is very epic in scope and scale. And for the first 2/3 of the game, the combat was great. Mechanically, it was really good. It was flawed. It definitely had its weaknesses and fracture points, but it was fun, and I was having a good time. The problem is that the game really wants you to craft. The game only gives you a tiny amount of slots to hold the things that it wants you to then craft with and towards. It also gives you very little guidance as to what you really need to do to be effective. Like, it hints at certain things, but there's almost an expectation of a lot of trial and error. And maybe in the year 2000, when the PS1 was the cutting edge of everything, I might have been willing to sort of stick with the game and do that. But as a player in 2021, the 1 second lag between every single menu section, unfathomably annoying. The fact that the menus are set up so that you need 4 or 5 clicks to do something that should maybe be 1 click away, unbelievably frustrating. And all of that's then compounded by the fact that you can actually only craft in 5 places on the map in the entire fucking game.
Ooh.
It's like, why, if you want me to craft, do you make me travel to the 4 corners of the earth whenever I want to craft something? On whose piece of paper was that written down as a good idea, as a good way to do this? So stupid. And I got myself to a point where, because I'd sort of coasted along on the combat with what I thought was a reasonably good setup to get me through the game, I got to the point where, oh, no, actually, there were 2 very poorly explained sliders that were the wrong way around. Also, I wasn't using the right blade. Also, I needed to tweak certain things to adapt to this specific enemy, to the point where I was attacking and doing 0 damage.
Ooh.
Right. And I had 2 ways of fixing this. I could either run 15 minutes through the map to the place where I could craft, try something else, and then run 15 minutes back and see how it goes. Or, because when you're predicted 0 damage, you still, if you can chain your risk, sort of do 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 bits of damage. But these enemies could heal themselves, and they're actually remarkably effective at it. So even if I tried to brute force it, the chances are I would have run out of risk-reducing consumables before I would have been able to brute force my way through. And even if I had been able to brute force my way through, that would have left me with scant little resources to do anything on the next screen. So I just watched the rest of the story on YouTube. And the story's not groundbreaking. It was a fun story. I'm glad I watched the ending of it. I'm just sad that the game sort of blocked me off from sort of experiencing the ending of it, because it's just really poor design. Ultimately, it's something that needed another 12 months in the oven to be sort of tweaked and play tested and rebalanced, because it just wasn't right as is, to me, in my mind. I think I still left it as a 7 out of 10. I might have dropped it down to 6. I think, given the ease of which the game can be obtained and or emulated, I think it's well worth people experiencing if they've got an interest in that era of gaming, in that game specifically, in that little sort of nugget of Squeenix history, in an oft-forgotten corner of the Avalis Alliance. I think technically it's more like hints and cameos and stuff, but theoretically this takes place in a distant past version of Avalis, so that's sort of a cool little nugget as well. Anyone else? Swerve, to be honest. You know, I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I played it, and I'm glad I tried it, which is ultimately a good place to be in coming out of that game. I was going to try and make a snap out of it, Pun, but let's forget that. Paula, just tell us about the games you're playing. Maybe starting with Pokemon Snap, so that it sort of makes a little bit of sense.
Okay, so in New Pokemon Snap, I've been progressing through the main story, and also I've been getting like more tools to make like revisiting each level like more fun, more involved, and not just like trying to wait for that one Pokemon I have to take a picture of. Because I got a new item that is the flute, so I can wake up sleepy Pokemon or make Pokemon dance. And I also got these Lumina orbs that I can throw at the Pokemon at certain islands or at the Lumina crystals, and pretty much like make them glow or do stuff. Besides that, I also got an upgrade for the Magic like in. So I now can like turn my character into a very small character and see everything like from a whole other perspective and take pictures of more Pokemon. And it can be like very frightening because like all the Pokemon look like giants, and it brings me memories from the anime, from the Isle of Giant Pokemon, or
Oh
there were like
yeah.
a couple of chapter or blah. There were a couple. I can't speak today. There were a couple of episodes like about giant Pokemon. They are terrifying. You don't want adult Rio to mistake you for any type of form Pokemon. You really don't. So yeah,
Fair.
that's Pokemon Snap
Nice.
for now. I've been also playing Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. I actually had to transfer my save from the R4 to the actual 3DS because my R4 died, and I lost like a chapter worth of progress in because of that. But now I am back into the game. I think I'm around chapter 5, I want to say, and the plot thickens. Like, I'm very happy with how the game is progressing right now. And there was like one particular puzzle that it takes like timing to solve, and you can feel very, very smart after completing those. So yeah, like fantastic game so far. And oh, before I forget, someone in the comments told us that Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is available on the iOS store, not on Android, but if you have an iPhone or any Apple device, you may be able to play it.
Yeah, I think that was
And-
Cyber who mentioned that. Yeah, on the Apple Store.
Yep.
And if you have an
Yep.
Android device, you can definitely emulate it because that's how I'm playing. So you have
There
options.
you go.
You
Bada
have
boom, bada
options.
You
bing.
have options. So yeah, that's Ghost Trick. And I'm also playing Nightshade. I'm playing a lot of Otome games, some help. And I finished like the first route of the game and letting it sit for a while because too many games right now ongoing. I can't keep track of all the stories. But so far so good. And then moving on to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I completed a shrine, found some quirks, and currently farming rubies and guardian pieces to craft ancient arrows. Because I pretty much want to tease the stealth section. Blah. I want to tease the stealth section on my way to Vanamoris. You know what? No one can see you if there's nobody to see you. So that's the plan for now. From the Great Calamity to the Red Calamity. Moving on to the latest Otome game localization by Axis, Olympia Sore. Let me tell you, I already finished 4 of the 6 routes in this game, so buckle up. I actually wrote my notes so I don't ramble for, I don't know, half an hour like last time. So, there's this mysterious island in the middle of the ocean surrounded by whirlpools, where the residents are born like with very colorful color traits, like orange hair and eyes, for example. And they have like, the people on the island have like a caste or class system based on which color each individual is born with, regardless of their parents' class. The reason being that originally there were 3 primary classes, and each was given something by this outsider that is pretty much considered to be like the god of the island, who is called Lord Himiko. Was it Himiko? Himiko. Sorry, I can't pronounce names now. So the classes created were the blue class that were given the power of Batsu, and that allows them to send the dead back to heaven and crystallize their soul and body into these little crystals called Sho, the yellow class, that the members of this class are the only ones who can attack with Lord Himiko, so they had like more political power in the island. And the red class, who were given cursed blood and soil, someone didn't read the fine print here. Like they got the third end of the streak. From those three ruling classes, the secondary color classes were born. So vermilion, orange, jade, green, cyan, aqua, violet, purple, and fuchsia. Everything outside those classes are like, considered like lower classes. So you have the Otsu, who are people with 3 or more color traits, and then you have what the higher classes called like the unsightly color classes, which include people with 4+ color traits or red or like muted colors. So all of those live in the underground district called Yomi, which, by the way, is full of spider lilies, and those are always like not good. I'm still like intrigued by it, but by the reasoning of why they have those there. Okay, enough of the world. Let's get to the actual story of the game, because Olympia is like the only survivor of the white class from an event called the Red Calamity. And her people are said to be like Amaterasu's daughters, and her prayers and dance are what keep the sun shining. Once she's reached adulthood, she is called by the Kotowari, that is an organization in charge of keeping track of everything going on the island and like keep the color classes going. And she's told that she has to find a husband within a year so she can like bear children, so the white class doesn't like go extinct and doom everyone in the island because the sun isn't gonna shine anymore. And this is the story into motion, as she has to leave behind like her like self and actually start meeting people and interacting with people on the island. And also she starts learning more about Tengu Island in the process, as prior to this she either lived on Tenio Island, that was the place where her mother and the other people of the white lived, and then she lived a shelter life in the care of the yellow class. The more she knows about the island and its inhabitants, the more she realizes that, one, she had like a very privileged life because, well, this island is kind of packed, so she's free to get away with a lot of stuff because she's of the white plus. She was homeschooled to a certain degree and was incentivized to read a lot, which most women on the island aren't really allowed to do. They aren't allowed to get an education. Second, this island needs to change, as not only like the very strict and unfair class system, well, is unfair, but this very same class system is bound to hurt people in many ways. Like, for example, not only like the law system privileges like certain classes, but also like the overall elitism and the drive to keep the higher classes like pure is causing like actual medical issues like stillbirth and higher rate of illness and mortality in said classes. There's a lot going on here. Like I'm now like in an Otome Discord, and they were actually like trying to figure out like how like genetics work in this place, and like what are the chances of people actually like being born with different color kits. That aside, the overall tone and story of the game is very interesting, not gonna lie. Olympia herself is a very, very, very interesting protagonist, not only as she has like more freedom like to explore and do whatever she wants, but also because she has like the drive to learn and to change things. And since she was once an outsider and then like lived like not aware of the intricacies of the class system, she pretty much has like no preconceived notions about what to expect from the people of different classes or anything like that. So she's a very refreshing protagonist. She's very like outspoken, I want to say, and she has like this particular like train of thought that is like active through a big part of the game that makes her a very fun protagonist to follow. Which is great because this game is very long. I'm like 40 hours in, and there's a lot more to discover about the island. There seems to be like an overall mystery. I am sorry for the information dump.
Oh, that's fine. I'm
But
saying
I
Mother
really-
of God in the length.
Oh. Okay. So that was Olympia Soare. I'm gonna jump to the last Otome before I jump to the other non-Otome game I have here. So Amnesia later on the beta. As I said, to go to or fan disc to Amnesia Memories. And currently I want to say I'm almost done with the game because I finished like the Waka side story. I finished like the friends side story because there's like 3 female friends the protagonist has, and they kind of like had there was an event on the game around that. Done with Ukyo, I'm done with Shin, and I'm like halfway through Thomas' side story. And one of the fun things about this game is that you see like sides of some characters that you don't really see. So there was like this one character that was not very nice in the first game, that she's actually like very friendly on this game. And also like the excuses they give you like to go like, I guess, to keep things fresh, like in the new world segment of the game where you're like trying to find firefights with everyone else, are kind of silly. Like on this one, like the rest of the guys, like Toma was alone because the other guys were like just building like a little dam under a bridge, because why the fuck not? To the point that the character actually say like, yeah, they are like beavers. They I don't know, they're playing like beavers on the bridge, which is a very good segue on actual beaver game. No shame here, sorry. So Timberborn is a game that I first played on the Steam Games Festival. It's a city builder with beavers, and it is amazing. And it is now out on Steam on early access, and I totally recommend it to everyone under the sun, because there's so much to do on this game and so much to the game. So right now there's like 2 groups of beavers, like the folk tales and the Iron Teeth. And the folktales are like regular beavers that do beaver things and stuff like that. There's nothing like too out of the ordinary about them. But the Iron Teeth are like, I don't want to say cyber beavers, but they have technology. Like, there's actually a thing you're gonna do on this particular kind of beaver that they use like breathing pots, so you can literally have like an I want to say like an emergency protocol where if all your beavers die, you can just like resume the breathing pots and like just rise from the ashes and restart your civilization without like any major setbacks. And I actually want to try that like later and just playing with the folktales, because why not? And I actually tried one of the maps that is called Diorama. And it is a very tiny map, so resources are very, very limited, and you have to be like very strategic, especially at the start of the game. Needless to say, I fucked up. So yeah. That's Timberborn.
Nice. Damn, yeah, you had quite the week of playing, huh? Weeks.
Yeah. Setting health.
So many
I would have
Otome.
played more if it weren't for school, but
Fair. Hey, that's life, right? I'd play many more games if it weren't for all my commitments. You're muted there, Rick.
I was just saying big mood. I was just agreeing with you. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
nice. That's what I figured. Who's up next? Why don't I jump in here? I'm playing more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Man, I got the Satisfy grip for my Switch Lite. So nice. It's just like, adds little sides to it. The Switch Lite's already super light, but something that I find about it, I find this with the old Switch too, it's like the rounded edges are nice, but like my hands are kind of big and weird, and like trying to find the right way to hold it's always odd. But these Satisfy grips, it just like clicks in there and it feels good, and I feel like I can like hold it for longer and it's just more comfortable. I wouldn't take it with me anywhere, but like when I'm at home lying on the couch, it's nice to just have that there, so it's more like a normal controller,
I feel like it's low-hanging fruit to ask if you're satisfied with it, but I'm sort of wanting to anyway.
I think that's why they called it Satisfy. I think that's why they called their brand that. It's making me actually think that I think the Valve deck's going to be pretty comfortable because it has that rounded, like, actual grip edges to them. And I, like, seeing that, I'm like, man, I think they know what's up, because, like, the Switch, with the lack of it, it's hard to hold for a long period of time. I find that with most handhelds, too, to be honest. Like, the 3DS is disgustingly bad to hold. Like, there is no way to hold that thing comfortably. Like, you're just like, what the fuck?
Its weight distribution's all off as well in the way that the DS Lite never was, weirdly.
So
but Valve know their ergonomics. Like, if the Steam controller's anything to go by, they know their ergonomics. Their ergonomics.
And Nintendo gets there eventually, usually, but actually, I don't even know. I don't think the new 3DS was any better. I think it's still just a pain in the ass. But
that's the one I had. It's still super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I still love it, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, me too.
What, Paula,
I just feel like the one outlier that is like totally okay with the control scheme. I think part of it is because I'm like, I have like really small hands, so
maybe, yeah. It's not so.
It's like, oh no.
I'm not like upset with the control scheme. It's just awkward to hold, I think. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I can do it, but it's like no matter which way I do it, like if I have my stylus out, you're resting it on like one part, and so like it's just kind of like an awkward weight. And then like if I put it in and I'm holding it, it's better that way. But I'm never really playing a game only like that, It's like a DS. I've got that thing out, so yeah, it's the stylus thing, but whatever. Small complaints.
You know what they say about people with big hands? They really struggle to hold a Nintendo 3DS.
Damn it.
Jesus.
On the stylus comment, I was actually gonna bring out like Kid Icarus Uprising, because that was the one game I couldn't complete because of the control scheme.
Listen, with the stand, it was great. Obviously, that sort of defeats the objective of portable, but those games are always best with a stand. And when you've got a stand, stylus aiming in 3D space, wonderful.
Yeah,
love it.
That's true.
Dimension, Metroid,
Then you get a little bit into Virtual Boy territory, though, so it's a little like... you need that
but with
stand.
3D that actually works this time.
Yes, for sure. Like, you need that stand. Yeah, when the 3D does... Hey, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles actually teaches
back on topic,
you... Yeah, no, it actually teaches you how stereoscopic 3D works. And it's really cute and fun. And I was like, oh, shit, this is actually... Because at first I was like, oh, is this a remnant from when this was a 3DS game? But no, you could just do it with your own eyes. And I was like, oh, yeah. I like, part of my brain knew that. Like,
really?
Yeah. You can do it on your own. All you need to do stereoscopic 3D is 2 images that are slightly different. And then you just have to cross your eyes until those... You can do it with your fingers, actually. And you can create one finger that looks like 3D. Yeah. Rick's gonna have some joking laughing here in the corner.
My mind's in the gutter.
I know it is. Yeah. We're gonna leave it there. But anyway, it's really like I love this game. I do think that. So I'm on the 5th case right now of the first game. And I will say, I see why this game was received mixed in Japan when it first came out. It's good. It is good. But I think I'm more lenient to it because I know the second half's coming and it has to set up a lot of stuff. And even in the fifth case, you start to see some of the things that they've been setting up start to come around, but you can already, like, you can still tell there's a lot more. Like, there are these mysteries that they're hinting at and that they're showing. And it's like, I can't wait to get to the next game because I'm like, oh, here we go. And it's too bad. I sort of wish they had waited and let them just complete 10 cases and release it as a collection like this. Hell, they could have done that on the 3DS and it could have been just more expensive. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people would have been, I think people would have been fine with that. If you got 10 cases in one and it's like literally double the size.
In Japan, maybe.
Right. But like, I mean, cause like the price of the game here right now is technically, double what the game would cost if it was just 5 cases. Right. Because these games have always been cheap. Yeah. So that's why I mean, like, I think it would have been fine. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Oh yeah, Paula?
Actually, I wonder if there's like Ace Attorney like twin pack on Japan.
Well, this collection is in Japan.
No, yeah, but I mean on 3DS because it happens often that whenever there's like 2 games that are supposed to like be paired together, there's usually an option to buy them like as a set or as a twin pack. So it actually happened with the Hakuoki games. Like when the second one came out, they also did a twin pack.
I'm sure, but the problem is that it was released in 2015 as a solo, and then the second part was released in 2017. So frankly, if they have a twin pack after that, it doesn't matter. The problem is the wait, right? You had that first game, and it's not really it doesn't really conclude nicely, and then you have to wait 2 years for the next part. I can kind of see, like, for instance, to give an example, Deltarune Chapter 1. I was just looking through my completions. I completed that game in 2019. Toby Fox just released Deltarune Chapter 2 like a little while ago. And I'm like, motherfucker, I don't remember what the shit happened in Deltarune Chapter 1. I was like, fuck you're talking about? That was like 2 years ago, man. And there was a big year in between. So I'm like, I really think it's awesome that he's releasing these for free, but I'm also just like, I think he said he's just going to wait until it's all done to release the next part. And I was like, yeah, then I'll play the game. I'm not doing this pieced out stuff because I just forget. I'm an old man.
Yeah, now that I think about it, like the only reason I wasn't like either disappointed or like mad about, I guess, like how so much was left for the second game to go through, like, was mainly because first I already knew there was like another game and I already had the other game though in Japanese. And second one, like the translation like was like halfway through, and then like Capcom came and was like, yeah, you're getting both on the Switch language.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, it's like, because you knew, it's fine, but I can imagine for Japanese gamers at the time, like, I can see where they're coming from. That being said, I still love this game. It's really fun. The fourth mission has a writer, Natsume Soseki, who's like writer of, I think it's like I Am Cat or something. Like he wrote this book about a cat. I'm pretty sure every Japanese person has read his stories, because I'm pretty sure it's like, you know, whatever your equivalent to like elementary or like middle school books that you have to read, I'm pretty darn sure Soseki is that guy for Japan. So, and he was actually in England around the time of these games. So like it all checks out and it's kind of fun. And there's some like Easter eggs if you know that history. So if you're going to play the game, maybe look up who that dude is before you play, and you might see some fun stuff in it. Sherlock is, or Herlock, whatever the fuck. It's Sherlock Holmes. He's great. So stupid, so unbelievably stupid, but like in the most charming way ever. And then also very smart, but also maybe not dumb. Like there's this whole thing that like goes on with Herlock where it's like, maybe he is, but there's like all these hints that like maybe not. And like there seems to be something else going on. And so I'm excited to unravel what's happening with this, because like either way, I think they're doing a masterstroke with this character, and all the characters are fantastic, and I'm loving it. So that's Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Really, really, really good. Really, really recommend it. Even if you've never played an Ace Attorney game before, this is a great one to just jump in on, because It's not connected to the present games. You need to have no knowledge of them. In fact, it does new things, like with the jury system and with the witness systems, which are really cool. And I think it actually fixes a lot of the problems of older Ace Attorney games. Each case has a different structure. So like it's never the exact same. Like I think some people have sometimes complained that the Ace Attorney games was like investigation, court, investigation, court, investigation, court. Like that was the structure of them. But in this one, it's quite different. Some cases you're investigating for like 4 freaking parts and then you're going into a court case. Some of them you're not going into court at all. Others you're just in court. Like it changes based on the needs of the story, which I think is really cool. Really quick, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Oh, so good. Also so stupid.
No, I won't be taking any further questions.
Yeah, no further questions. Also, actually, something interesting I want to talk about with Yakuza Like a Dragon. So Squid Game's out. People have been watching Squid Game a lot. And of course,
good. Terrible ending, but so good.
Yes, terrible ending, but very good. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But there's an interesting, that really stupid argument comes up again of dubs versus subs. And there's something interesting that I think, and maybe that isn't talked about so much, but like when it comes to, so for me personally, I'm just like, whatever gets you into media is great. I don't care. More accessible options is excellent. But I do notice that there is a dissonance if you try watching a live action show with a dub, right? Because the actors, I mean, it's just, it's intrinsic. It's so hard to take a voice out of an actor and make another voice match. It takes a lot of work and a lot of skill to really match that. And it also just doesn't really work because the actor is speaking a language, right? So their mouth is voicing words. But when you get into animation, they're not voicing fucking anything. Like, I mean, they're not saying words, man. They're moving around into extrapolations of it, but they're not. And like, I find that the Yakuza Like a Dragon dub is fucking incredible. Like, it is so fucking good. In fact, I was watching Japanese clips and I went, nah, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's not the same. Because, and a theory for me is that for a Japanese person, they recognize, obviously, in your own language, you recognize variations within voice very well, right? You'll recognize slight different dialects. You'll recognize, like, we'd be full of shit if we could say that we know the difference between a Tokyo and a Kansai dialect. I don't fucking know, like, right? But like for a Japanese person, it's boom right away, right? Like they would obviously know it. But in English, I can hear the distinctions between the voices much better. And so like they do, and they hired a lot of Asian American and like actors for this too, which I think is really fucking cool. So like, even Sung-won plays a character too, the YouTube personality. He's got he voices one of the characters in this, which is really cool. And fucking Masumi Arakawa, the main like patriarch, is George Takei. Like, he's amazing. His voice is so good in this. He's so powerful and gravelly. And the guy who voices Ichiban is incredible. And like, it's just so good. Like, it's genuinely so good and so professional, and it feels like every single voice that they found matches the person, and that's what I think is so impressive. Like often in dubs, even in anime dubs, sometimes you'll see that it was a quick job where they just need someone to fucking make the voice, you know, and they don't really match the body type or like the personality that you would imagine for the character. But in this case, you're like, no, it's perfect. Like they really spent money and really like worked hard to make this dub excellent, and so I really recommend it. Yeah, that's my little rant about why you should really play the fucking Like a Dragon dub, because it's amazing. Or play with the subs, who cares? It's your life, do whatever you want. But one other thing, this is an RPG and it does fall into a bit of the JRPG thing. You got to grind at a few points. There's a boss that you'll hit. And the thing is, you're going to love this boss. Trust me. But fucking hard. I was like, whoa, like suddenly it was tough. But what I will say this game does well is that it really foreshadows and it really warns you about what's coming. And it gives you a fun way to grind. So it gives you something with intrinsic reward. It offers you really fun rewards for it. Like there's a battle arena at one point that it gives you. And then there's also like some dungeon areas that you can go do that give you fun rewards and also a few ways to level up quick. So is it a bit annoying? Yeah, but also it is pretty fun, so I'm kind of fine with it. Anyway, that's it. Rick, take us home.
Yes, let me jump in. Yeah, so we spoke about Oracle of Seasons. I started that. It's very pretty. I'm not far enough in to say anything more than that. I'm also playing Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, although for me it's a replay, unlike Paula's first experience. So I'm definitely sort of dipping in and out, just playing a little bit at a time. I'm in Chapter 3 with Best Boy Missile. I'm just about to leave him to move to a new area. And I'm very much enjoying sort of being back in it. I found that most of the puzzles have just come very quickly to me through a combination of memory and sort of familiarity. But the game just has such a charm to it, however you play it. It's been wonderful to dip back into it. Ditto Valhalla, or VA11 Hall A, which is a replay for me to get the proper ending, because I fudged it and got the bad ending last time. But the New Game Plus lets you take all your money over, so it's basically a chance to play it again, have some fun with it again, get the proper endings this time. That game is such a... not such a mood, because that sounds so fluffy and nothing. Oh, it's such a mood, man. Like, it has such an atmosphere, a sense of place and time, which is quite odd for a game that's set like in the distant cyberpunky future bar situation. But it's a wonderful game. The characters feel very real, very authentic. And you really do feel like a fly on the wall in this little middle of nowhere like dive bar in a future dystopic cyberpunk. Just hearing people's lives, what they're doing, how they're getting on, what they think about random stuff. It's just lovely. It's difficult to put into words just how special this game is. I'm so excited for Nirvana, the follow-up that's coming. And I'm really loving sort of being back in this world again to get the proper endings, which is nice. I'm playing some more of Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance. It's an interesting one, and I'm not sure how much I said about this last week or how much of it's just blurring into when we did this recording last time. So forgive me if you listened to an episode a couple of weeks ago and I'm saying exactly the same things over again. You can see very clearly the roots of what started in this game and became the Shake dimension for the Wii. And the interesting thing is, having retired that game quite quickly, I like this a lot more so far. There's way more level variety, which helps. I like the structure a little bit better, which helps. They haven't got a fucking mobile 3-star scoring system where it's like, collect 3 pink MacGuffins. Oh, score 25,000 fun points. Oh, collect the 3 items. I just don't care. And it actually benefits from not having that, even though you don't have to do it. Like, the fact that it's there just annoys me. That was a sentence. Anyway, I love the pixel art a lot more. The Wii version, or the Wii game, is beautiful. It does like a hand-drawn thing. But there's just something to be said for like great GBA, sort of 16-bitty pixel art. And Wario Land 4 nails that. Mechanically, I think it's a little bit tighter as well. You haven't got the shake mechanic. You haven't got like random Wii tilting. And I thought it was well executed, but I am noticing, having now moved to a D-pad and buttons exclusively, that I like that setup a little bit more. That actually the whole thing the Shake dimension didn't really give it anything extra in reality. I am sort of slowly picking away at it. The level, not the level. The game design hasn't hooked me per se, but I'm liking sort of because I've got quite a few commutes on at the moment, so I'm liking dipping in for 10 minutes, dipping out. It's got a great feature for a GBA game, for a GBA platformer, in like a quick save type thing. So when you're in a level, if you hit quit, it will quick save you at the entrance to the room you were in.
Nice.
Which I can't believe more games at the time didn't do that. It's such a no-brainer. And if it weren't for that one feature, I genuinely suspect I would have retired the game. But it's facilitated me being able to play the game the way I want to play it, which is massive. And then I've also got 2 PC games on a go, in and around all the Steam demos that we're playing, we'll be talking about very, very soon, which is cool. The first of those is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. This is a game I've had as a freebie since like 2015. And in between demos, I thought, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to sort out like my semi-bugged Ubisoft Connect installation, and I'm going to get this game to run. And I mean, it's early 2010s Far Cry. It's fine. TM. Like, you're infiltrating bases. You're throwing bait for these fucking blood dragon fever dream things that someone dreamt up for this DLC campaign. You know, it's okay. It's got a bow and arrow, which was the style at the time, and the bow feels good. The stealth feels a little bit dull, but it works. It's all fine. I do want to shout out, and I know people have shouted it out before, that the tutorials for Blood Dragon are the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I love that shit. I remember playing that.
So good. If you do nothing else, go and YouTube Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon tutorial and just watch like the opening 5 minutes, because it is laugh out loud funny. It's like press spacebar to move your body in the Z axis, or whatever it is, and just loads of pithy stuff like that. Little like plays and microtransactions. It's just really, really good writing, good shit. The game has got good writing as well around what is quite a by the numbers sort of standalone DLC situation. The other game I've been playing is Sumire for PC. This is wonderful so far. It's a short game on a little website called howlongtobeat.com. It's listed as having about 3-hour completion. I'm about an hour in. And the concept of the game is you play as the titular character. She's lost her grandmother. Her mum's sunk into a depression. Her dad's left. And this magical seed comes out of the sky. Can only be there until the sun sets, but promises that if she goes with him, I think it's a him, it's sort of coded male, hopefully they'll be able to see her grandma again. And it's very sort of whimsical in its setup. The antagonists are like a band of crows, but very mildly sinister. It's all like a storybook aesthetic. Everything moves a little bit cardboard cutouty, but in quite a smooth way. The music is beautiful. There's like a, in the overworld sort of thing, there's a beautiful sort of acoustic track that has a few slight variations. And I just stopped for a couple of minutes the first time I played. It's really genuinely affecting. But the game, it deals with these really heavy themes, but juxtaposes them with this whimsical sort of childlike style. And there's something very emotive about it, very powerful. I love it so far. It's one that sort of had high praise from a couple of creators and writers that I follow. And so far it's living up to every bit of the hype that it has been given. So I expect I'll have more thoughts on that by next episode. Provisionally, go and check this game and its soundtrack out.
It's on Switch too. It's on sale right now, but if you're listening to this, it's done. But
maybe not. Yeah.
It's only like $20 CAD, which means it's probably fucking way less than that.
I paid 15 GBP for the game and the soundtrack, and I feel like, especially how good the soundtrack has been so far, I feel like it's worth every penny full price.
I might go pick this up. This looks like a very much you game too, Paula. So.
Oh, 100%. I feel like you'd both get a massive kick out of this if the quality holds all the way through.
Same. I think I'll pick it up because it's pretty cheap right now. It's like $13 on sale. I'm gonna grab that. Cool. Okay. Well, why don't we move along then? We'll try to go fairly quickly here with a question from our listeners from Nalb.
How long has it been since we've done one of these?
About a month.
Too damn long.
Thank you for, and again, send us questions. We just don't have a lot of questions right now. So, if you have questions for us, let us know in the Discord. Send it to HLTB
What we're saying is it's
podcast.
not our fault. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, at gmail.com.
Sorry,
come
that
on.
HLTB
podcast at gmail.com. Send it that way, or the Discord, or on the How Long to Beat forums. Just let us know if you got a question. So the question is from Nalb. I'm listening to a few 12 Minutes reviews, and I already know its end plot twist. So, going by that, what is the worst plot twist you've encountered in a video game? I mean, I'll go quick, the 12 Minutes one. Actually, though, yes, that actually is the worst plot twist I've seen in a video game. But I think, maybe more realistically, Nalb also pointed out the one in Bionic Commando. I think it's Rearmed. Bionic Commando, the 3D one.
Ironically, no, but ironic if it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think Rearmed was the 2D one that they did.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the Bionic Commando, the 360 one. If you don't want spoilers for that game, who are you? But also skip 30 seconds. Basically, his arm is his wife. It's just like,
it's the most anime bullshit.
It's so dumb.
Which is ironic because it was like a Western remake.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just that baloney stuff. Now, for me, I have to say, okay, I love the Yakuza games. All right, I really truly do. Yakuza Like a Dragon has a really fucking dumb plot twist in it that, like, honest to God, it happened and I just went like this because I was like, this is so stupid. Who cares? I'm not going to spoil what it is because I'm sure people will want to play this. And it doesn't really matter what the plot twist is, really. What matters is that Yakuza games are video game soap operas. They're ridiculous, completely unrealistic. Like, in no way, shape, or form are these games even trying to pretend that they present a real view of Yakuza in the world. Definitely not. Especially with their side quests. It's all about friendship and love and family.
And you're telling me I won't find the Japanese mafia doing karaoke and like serving drinks and shit?
I mean, maybe.
Has that all been a lie?
One thing you definitely won't find is that you can solve all your problems with a couple well-placed punches. I mean,
no, that's not true. I've been doing that all my life.
Have you? Okay, there you go. I just show up and I go, fight me! And then I beat them up. No one is really massively harmed, even though I slam their heads with bicycles and we're all go home happy. But anyway, it has a really dumb plot twist that involves like family and stuff. And it's just... It didn't need to be there. It just didn't have to be in the game. Like, genuinely, the game could have been the game without this thing and it would have been fine. But like, they put it in there and you're like, what? And there's like plot twists every 5 minutes in Yakuza games that you're like, why am I supposed to care? Yakuza 0 is really bad for this too. Like, it's so often and this is what I mean by soap operas. And this isn't a spoiler because I haven't played the other Yakuza games, but I'm gonna venture a guess that in the other Yakuza games that there are multiple plot twists involving people being siblings and or related to each other. Because like that seems to be the Yakuza plot twists in general, is just like family things, right? Like I guarantee you in one of those games there has to be something like that. And because that's what you see in soap operas, right? Like the twin thing. If there isn't a twin thing in a Yakuza game, I will be amazed. There's got to be. Whoever's played the other Yakuza games, tell me if they do something with twins at some point, because I'm guarantee you they probably do. In Like a Dragon, they do, but it's not a twist. It's just like it's not a twist at all. It's just like one of the. You'll see when if you play the game. It's not like a big story plot twist. There's just like a twin thing that they do in it that I was like, of course this is happening. Of course there's twins in this part. Anyway, that's anyway, that's for me the worst plot twist was in that one. It was just silly and I couldn't care less. What about for you two? Paula, Rick. Yeah.
Oh, go on. Yeah, I've got two to be fair. To be quick, and one of them sort of involves Paula because it's Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk. I'm sorry. Do you know what the worst thing is? I don't remember what the twist was, but when I was going through my completions earlier, I saw it was like, yeah, that had a fucking awful one, whatever it was.
I know, I agree. But those are the plot twists that you can't even remember are the fucking dumb ones, right? Where you're like I don't even fucking remember, but I remember the twist being so stupid. Yeah, I remember that one. Actually,
I forgot it out of spite, I'm certain. Yeah. The other one, and I'm going to spoil this because it's a free phone game, and you're an idiot if you're playing it at this point, to be honest, because it's an old free phone game. And this was South Park Phone Destroyer.
Oh, I didn't even know this was a game. Okay.
And beyond that, it has a story. Ish.
Okay.
And the story is forgettable in that I've forgotten it, but I remember how it ends. And how it ends. Oh, I was angry. Because what it does at the end, and I forget how exactly it ties into the ending, but the ending you get is determined by how much money you spent on the game. Literally.
Oh.
They do like a grand reveal thing, and there's one of three options, I think. And obviously, I didn't spend a penny on it. And the kids literally go, oh man, that's the worst one. How do they think the developers are getting paid for this? As they walk off screen. Oh, I was incensed.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, so the plot twist is like your in-game purchases determine the ending. And I've never felt better about not spending a penny on a game.
Yeah. Look, I love South Park sometimes, but sometimes their work is like satire without the thought.
Listen, I have no intention of pinning this on Trey Parker or Matt Stone. As far as I'm concerned, this was very much a Ubi thing. Maybe they saw it and were like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like this is someone like slaving away in a Ubisoft cube who's like just past the Rubicon. They were just doing like dark humor shit, and it's like, yeah, maybe that's funny to you, but
that poor fuck's like, we don't get paid anyway.
I'm the player who you're essentially guilting for not spending money on the game that you're giving away for free.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
That's so weird too. It's not like you pirated it. It's like you guys gave it to me for free.
Yeah.
That's shitty.
But yeah.
Paula, what about you?
To think, because at the very least, there's one plot twist that I hated because I felt like it wasn't like really earned by the game. And there's like a couple of plot twists that one of them was like, I wish the plot twist was other thing, and the other one is the plot twist led. I don't want to say nowhere, but they didn't like to take advantage of it. So there's gonna be a spoilers for first of all, Persona 5. Rick, are you editing this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you.
No, I'm editing this week, so don't worry. I've played it, Paula. Go ahead.
Right.
Okay.
When you're back, I'm taking my headphones off.
For sure.
Nice one.
Yep. So the part that really grinds my the thing about Persona 5 is that the way they do the plot, it feels like, I want to say that kind of forced at times, and when they do like all the fancy terminology, is like it feels pretentious overall. But also there's this one particular thing about pancakes, like
I don't remember.
Like this one character like makes a slip up like very, very, very early in the game, and it pretty much you know what he is, you know what he did. It's about what was his name again? The detective.
No.
The detective. I forgot his name.
I don't remember his name at all, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know the pancake thing though. I think I know the detective. I don't actually. I can't.
Yeah,
remember.
like
It's been a long time since
like Morgana said something about pancakes, and he actually reacted to something Morgana said, and people aren't usually able to discern what the cat says. Yeah.
We're here.
So yeah, like that was a dead giveaway very early in the game. And at the very end of the game, they tried to make it look like, the Phantom Thieves knew it like all along who this character was and what his motive was. So they did like this whole trap thing. And I'm sorry, but at the very least, and like in Persona 5 Vanilla, like the Phantom Thieves aren't like they like the main cast of characters was a real disappointment after Persona 4 Golden. And the whole, but we knew from the very beginning that the detective was like the culprit for this one thing. And I'm like, no, you don't. You've been like faffing around for the whole game, and 100 hours later, now you decided you have a friend. No, sorry, that was very mean, but
that's okay.
But yeah, like that particular plot is like very angry. Like
fair.
Like I almost like rage quit the game because it was so dumb.
Okay, can we bring Rick back now? Are we good?
Rick can go.
Okay.
Yeah, you can come back now.
Rick, you may return. The spoilers have ended, and for those who have just come back, welcome back.
Welcome back. The second plot twist that is more like, I wish the plot twist was another thing altogether. Spoilers for 13 Sentinels.
Sounds good. You're just in the spoilers world, aren't you? Okay, good.
So yeah, like,
hang on, worst? What?
Is like, I haven't played like many games like with bad plot twists, but I swear Persona 5 has like the worst plot twist I've seen in a while.
What's the 13 Sentinels one?
In 13 Sentinels, it was more like, I wish the plot twist wasn't like they were like in these simulation, because it really like lowers the stakes of everything that was happening. It really didn't like explain a lot like on these couple of characters that were like losing their memory because of nanomachines. And it's like, do they have like nanomachines like in real life? So this is how they pretty much dream. Also, like it, like the thing is, it being a simulation, like kind of like takes away the purpose of having like these machines that were supposed to be for building the new civilization. So I kind of wish it wasn't a simulation. Like they were like actually fighting giant robots with giant robots, and then they survive and whatever.
I'll be frank with you. I can't remember shit from that game because that was a rage-fueled heat month of my life.
Yeah, you picked the wrong time to play that game, really.
I really did.
Yeah.
I have to say I fundamentally disagree with that being a bad plot twist, but we do not have the time to have that
No,
argument.
and we've had it
We
too
should-
many
Yeah.
times.
I'm not
Especially-
saying it. I'm not saying that it's a bad plot twist because it was actually like foreshadowed really, really well.
Yeah, but I mean, you can
Okay.
also
But I
foreshadow
wish
things
it would-
well and still be dumb, you know? Like, I can know it's coming and not like it.
I also
yeah.
have to make a real quick shout out for a game that you reminded me of, Paula, when you were like a plot twist that you didn't earn or didn't make any sense. And I like this game, but Narita Boy's plot twist. The guy was actually your dad all along, and actually we're just going to steal the ending from Back to the Future for no reason. I thought that was pretty dumb.
Yeah, I didn't like that
Yeah.
either. Nice.
Oh, and the final one.
there was
It
more?
was more like there was one more plot twist. And this is for Pokemon Sun and Moon.
They have
And it's like
plots?
a little part of the plot twist that I feel like they didn't take full advantage of.
Mhm.
Because you have this foundation that is like, oh, future foundation. They're like trying to preserve like endangered Pokemon and stuff like that. Because hunters are bad and stuff like that. The thing about future foundation is that they're actually like bad guys of the game. And not only that, like the I want to say that the head of future foundation, like president of the company, that was very well executed. Like, damn. But there's at the very, very end of the game, when you battle her, she actually fuses with an Ultra Beast that is like a Pokemon from another dimension. But you don't battle her, you battle her Pokemon team. And I'm like, why? You had this one chance to make something like very cool and very special, and then like an actual Pokemon battle where you don't even know what the rules are.
Yeah, but Paula, you just said it. They had one chance to make something really cool and special. You think Pokemon Company's going to do that? Come on.
That sounds like effort. I mean,
Come
we
on.
already have a game. That is, so why would we not?
Yeah, they're not going to do that. All right, well, why don't we wrap up there just
Oh, yeah.
because we've already run very long. Sorry, everyone. We're long-winded. We like to talk. We're talky talks. Which is probably half my fault. I talked way too much this episode. Sorry, everyone. Let's keep going on to our next one, which is...
How
long to beat
Oh,
the
shit, yeah.
game. Oh, I heard you guys
I
coming in.
teleported myself back to the beginning of the episode where we do that all together. That was kind of tragic.
That's
okay.
fine. I sort of hope you're going to keep going. I like
Oh.
that. All right. Well, I already rolled this game. And this is one that I've never heard of. But it looks neat. It's called Heart of Darkness for the PS1.
Ooh, yeah, I've got a fucking clue.
Yeah. I mean, I know the
Ugh.
novel Heart of Darkness, but
Heart of Dark.
which this is not what it is based on. just to be clear here. Not at all. It's like a little kid with what looks like a futuristic laser gun, a dog, and a big old scary dude. It got reviewed really well.
Oh.
Came out in 1998. I mean, I don't know about super well, I guess, but it had like 7.8s. Game Informer gave it like 9.5 stars. But then other places also rated it poorly. It looks like it was all over the place. Let's see. What is this describe? The game places players in the role of a child named Andy as he attempts to rescue his dog who has been kidnapped by shadow-like specters. The game
Oh, hang on. Is this what platform is this for?
PlayStation. It was also
Not
on
PS2.
Windows. No, PlayStation.
Oh, I'm thinking of a completely different game with like a woman on the front, but it's the same color scheme almost as this
Yeah,
one.
different game. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I googled because I would have been guessing for like something completely different.
Yeah, I mean it's a platformer, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Do you know what?
But I think the
Mhm.
PlayStation version, so like it seems to me like this was initially Yeah, because like the reviews sound like they're talking about this game from a different time.
Oh, like it was almost a remake or a re-release.
Yeah.
It's listed as PC as well.
Yeah, but they were at the same time. Huh.
Oh, I don't know.
Interesting.
Oh, I see.
Maybe it's just that it was demoed in 97 and stuff.
I'm going to go out on a limb. So, despite the fact that we've been stitched up multiple times by PlayStation games being far longer than we think they are, the fact that this is a cinematic platformer for the PlayStation leads me to believe it's probably a shorter game. So I'm going to 5-5-5 it.
I think it's a short game.
I wanted to 5-5-5 it too.
5 hours, 5 persons, 5 doors. Ooh, that's a deep cut.
I got the reference.
Yeah, I mean, cinematic platformer. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm doing the same thing. Honestly, this isn't as exciting of an episode, but I mean, should we reveal? We're all doing 5 hours.
They can't all be Deep Space Waifu.
Exactly. They can't all be Deep Space. Okay, Heart of Darkness is main story, 5 hours. Main plus extras, 5.5 hours. Completionist, 15 hours. No, I'm kidding. It's 6 hours.
Oh my god. I was so ready to buy fuck you, man.
That means no change on the leaderboard this week. Rick's 92, I'm 92, and Paula is 80. So we're all...
It's a close race for that OLED Switch that's on the line.
It's close. 2 more episodes, really, frankly, could hit the 100 mark. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That'd be just in time for our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah,
which, look at that. FYI, guys, is coming up.
It's coming up pretty good. We've been doing this for almost a year now. Crazy. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.